Hello, fine people, and thank you for joining us for Wild Moments. We have James back, which we're all very excited about. Hi, James.
Hi, everybody. There may be some dreadful noises coming from this end of the country. We're in Johannesburg. Some idiot next door is using an angle grinder with an enthusiasm that beggars belief. And in the other room, there is a 4-week-old child that has not learned to sleep yet. If I pass out, you'll know why.
I feel that there may be lots of sympathizers for you.
Yes,
And let's hope that the
I hope
neighbor
so.
wasn't watching the show to
Yes,
hear
quite.
what an idiot he is.
I hope the neighbor is watching the show, actually. Anyway,
Anyway, we
not
are
why we're
Wild
here.
Moments by explore.org. And if this is the first time that you're joining us, it's when we go through a whole lot of crazy clips that we've had in the week and we discuss all the wonderful things like their biology, some discussions on behavior, etc. And of course, we're live and interactive. So send through your questions and your comments. We love to hear from you. And I'm sure that James' insights have been missing over the past couple of weeks. So I'm sure there's plenty of questions for
Well,
you, James.
that's very kind
But
of you to say.
before we get into it, let's say a couple of hellos. First, we've got Tris Vissop, who says, "Hello, James and Trishala. Greetings from Poland. I can't watch the show today live because of the time change, but I wanted to say hi. I love the Wild Moments show, and I hope that today's show will be terrific as always. It's very handy that one can watch it on the rewind. Thank you for that lovely message. And be sure to catch it on the rewind." Sasky Brenda says, "Good morning from a chilly Florida. Wonder if you could find out who the two large collared males on Tembe are. They've appeared twice on the cams this last week." Well, as soon as we get a clip of them or we learn anything more about them, we will surely talk about them and let you know. And then where
I
is
think
Aussie
just
Jan?
sorry, one thing to say there is that I know that there's been a lot of movement of male lions around the smaller reserves of northern KZN, so they could have been brought in, swapped out with others. They do that quite a lot around that area. I don't
Okay,
know. I don't know for sure, but it's possible.
okay. At least we have some insight. But if we do know anything for sure, we will certainly let you all know. Aussie Jan 2 says, "Good afternoon. Just heating up a new cup of coffee and you're ready to go. Very glad. This time, I have a glass of water, unlike the last two times when there was not water in my glass." And then we have Rolling Trouble who says hi from Washington. And Mary J says hi, James and Trishala. Okay, shall we get into the first clip? We're looking at a couple interesting interactions this week, and the first one is quite a cool one because it's one of the hippos that we've been seeing at rodents lately. So let's have a look.
Did you just say hippo? I think you did.
I might, and I think it was appropriate.
Very appropriate. One of the hippos is pooing.
So we've been seeing two hippos in this pan for the last 2 weeks, I think. And both have been displaying territorially, but there hasn't been too much interaction.
Nice music.
I was gonna say, is that your music or did we put music over this clip?
I don't think it's mine. Yeah, I mean, it's very Pirates, sort of dramatic. But I don't know what to say about the music. In terms of the hippopotami, I'd say what we have there, I think it's important to note, I was thinking about this actually on Monday. A hippo's natural environment is a river system, really, or a huge lake. And in a river system like that, you'd have, if you think of the Mara River, you've got these areas, bends in the river where there are pools, and then stretches of probably suboptimal habitat. And in those bends, you'll have the pods of hippos, you'll have a dominant bull there, and sort of as the habitat gets less and less favorable, you'll have these lurkers, young bulls who've been thrown out, and slightly older bulls who have perhaps also been thrown out or are going to try and take some territory. Whereas in, I suppose, the majority of the waterholes we have in areas like Bululi. I mean, there is a river at Bululi, but those pans and that sort of thing. It's almost always young bulls who've been chased out of the river systems, and now they're kind of trying to establish themselves in a small pan like that. So my guess would be 2 small bulls, maybe 3 small bulls who've been tossed out, can't find a spot in the river, and that's what they're doing.
So last week we had discussed a similar kind of thing, and also it being summer and there being a lot more pools and availability of water, you're going to see a lot more movement of hippos. And our first guess was that it was 2 males, and one looked a little bit younger than the other, which was a little bit less, displaying a little less than the dominant bull was.
Yeah. I would suspect that neither of them are getting to, neither of them would be able to take a territory in a like a river. If they went down to the Olifants River, I suspect that there are probably some big chaps down there who have sort of sent these guys packing, and they're kind of looking for somewhere else. Yeah, but I could be wrong.
I wonder if any of them would get established in that pan, because it's quite a small pan. If it was going to collect some females there, it would get busy very, very quickly. So I think it's just kind of a halfway house for the hippos.
Absolutely. I would agree.
We have unregistered user said, "Hello, James and Trishala. Hello, unregistered user. Why don't you go and register?" User. Wilberforce Weekor, you say you're watching from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for joining us. It's the first time that I've heard your name. Yes. And then we have So Lucky Karen, who says watching from in Karen State, Sampon Tong Suk. I hope that I said that correctly. I promise I'm just reading.
Where is that? Where on earth is Karon Tong Pong Pong Pong?
Sampon Tong Suk.
Sampon Tong Suk.
And then we have Suki V, who has joined us again. Thank you again for joining us, Suki V. You've been recuperating in hospital. Yes, you've been joining us each time. We hope that you're doing well. Oh, you said you're recuperating in bed now and you're out of hospital. That's great. That's fantastic.
Excellent.
And it also says congratulations to you, James.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Mary J also says, "Hello, Miss Henry." I don't know if we heard screeches in the background there, but I didn't.
No, that's the angle grinder, although the sound is very similar.
So earlier, I heard the combination of both the angle grinder and Little Ridley screeching. And it was, the pitch was quite similar. So not surprising if you were confused.
No.
Michael S. says, "Hello and good morning from a cold, beautiful morning in North Carolina." Hello, James and Trish. And then Andy, again, was asking about those 2 males, if we know anything else. At 10
the 2 male lions.
No,
you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes. James had said that they often move around. Sorry, say that again? No,
sorry. They collared Astarte, didn't they? But they didn't collar Greedy, as far as we know. I think that's right.
As far as we know.
Okay,
yeah.
So, yeah, okay.
Again, Andy, if we know anything, we will let you know. Ooh, okay, let me get through these very quickly, and then we'll head off to our next clip. Actually, I'm just going to get through half of them, and I'll get through the other half later. Amberco says, "Thank you. This is my favorite show." We've got Bill Grooms that says, "Greetings from South Carolina." Gen X Jen says, "Hello from California. Finally made it the beginning after being thrown off by your time change." I'm so sorry. A lot of you seem to be thrown off. Stuck in bed says, "Hello." Hello and hugs from a freezing cold Utah. John says, "Good afternoon, James and Trishala from a sunny Florida." Congratulations to James and Kirsten. And we've got Linda Winters who says hi from Pennsylvania. Whew. And I only got through about half. So we'll get through the rest. Don't worry. I will say your name. But let's head off to our next clip, which is of some warthogs that are going head to head.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun.
Where's the music for this clip?
Yeah, lovely summer sounds there with the Diederik's cuckoo and some staff at the lodge. Nice to hear the compressor in the workshop as well. So these look like, I mean, they're two boars, obviously, but I think they're two youngsters. They don't look like particularly adult ones. And maybe they are trying to show off for the lady to the left. But she looks
Maybe.
decidedly unimpressed by them.
I think it's so often it starts that way. There's a female nearby and they try to impress her and then she's moved off and the males are still going at it.
Yeah. I mean, I do liken it often to the behavior one might see in a bar, where two males may not get physically attached to each other like this, but they start telling outlandish stories of their courage on the sporting field or perhaps even as a guide, the elephant charge they've stood down. And by the time they finish the story, the lady in earshot has walked off and they don't really know why they're talking to each other in the manner that they are, which I always find quite funny. And I think it's so common for all mammals, actually. You see it with warthogs, you see it with elephants, you see it with impalas. Often there's a lady around, they start fighting, she just thinks to hell with this, and off she goes somewhere else. It is quite funny. But I don't think there's anything more to it than that, do you?
No, I don't think so. Also, it didn't look particularly violent. And there was one time when I actually saw two boars fighting and it looked hectic. They were really
Yeah,
pushing at each other. There was a lot of movement of their heads, when their tusks were engaged.
yeah,
And this looked a
yeah.
little bit more like a pushing match.
Yeah, I really think that you can tell when when it's a really angry fight, it's obvious there is real intent. Elephants often do that kind of wrestling, and it's not very serious. Or normally young bulls, when it's serious, yeah, you know all about it. Even if it's two squirrels going at each other, it's very obvious when it's no longer playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have not seen it yourself, uh, you want to know what it is like, or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
may not
for
be
sure.
able to think about it in your head, but when you do see it, you will know. There's a lot more intensity to it. And you can see
Yeah.
that they're serious. Even if it is two squirrels, you can tell that they're serious. um, before we move on to our next clip, we've got Becky WV who says, "Hello from West Virginia, love Africams." Stuck in Bed says, "You just love this hippo." There were two hippos there stuck in bed, but we're going to send your love to both of them. Matea Corellis, you say, how exciting it is to see them. I'm assuming you mean about the hippos. It is exciting to see both of them, and it'll be
Mm,
quite exciting to watch what the development is over the next few weeks, whether they stay, whether they go, whether other hippos come along. And you have the advantage of having the cams right there, so you can watch
yeah.
all day if you want.
I suspect
And
that
then
they
we
will
have,
move off and
you
maybe be
suspect they'll
replaced
move
by
on?
others. Move off eventually, and they'll be replaced by others kind of as the season goes on. That would be
Yeah.
my guess.
I think that I likened it to this kind of halfway house for a hippo, and I thought one day when I have my
Yeah.
own game reserve, I'm going to name a pan the hippo halfway house.
Okay, nice. Can I come and work at your new game reserve when you buy it?
Sure, sure.
Thanks.
I'll make you the manager.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Ellen Winkler says hi from Queens, New York. Elvi Juanites Amar says hello. You're watching from Qatar. Oh, I hope you're getting all excited. Michael S says, do hippos always wag their tails when they poo? Not always. I've seen them poo when they haven't wagged their tail. I don't know if it was just because it was a limp tail, but I've certainly seen it happen when they haven't wagged their tail.
Mm.
What about you, James?
Well, I recently saw one wagging its tail while urinating as well. So they will not only spray their dung, they will spray their urine. They have got a recurved penis, which always sounds like a horrific thing to have, but if you're a rhino or a lion or a hippopotamus, it's entirely normal. And I think, yeah, I can't remember if I've ever seen one not spraying its dung, but I've definitely found piles of dung that haven't been sprayed. So, yes, I suppose the youngsters, and if they're not being territorial, they don't necessarily spray their dung.
Yeah, exactly. Leela May 6, you say thank you and greetings. Brittany Parker says hello. Brittany Parker says hello, James and Trish and everyone. Mary Momo says hi, Trishala and James. Running late but sliding in with my one-a-day coffee. Great for you. I have taken to drinking decaf now, James, because I can't drink coffee anymore.
Oh, oh why not?
I get too energetic.
Wired.
Yeah.
Too wired.
Yeah.
Fair
Get
enough.
a little bit wired. A little bit like
I thought you
anxious
were
type of wired.
right. I thought you were about to announce the arrival of another member of your family.
Oh, no, not yet. After listening to James and Kirst's stories, maybe not for a while. Anyway, let us head over to our next clip. We're
Yes.
in the theme of battling, so let's go over to see some impalas having it out. Oh,
So to me, this is very similar to what we were looking at earlier.
exactly.
This is just not serious. Yeah. And I think, I mean, if I look carefully at the horns on those impalas, I'd say these guys are approaching their second birthday. Maybe they're a little bit older than, yeah, the one on the right is definitely a bit older than that. But
Yeah.
it's now, of course, Impala lamb dropping season, which means that the air is filled with pheromones, and it does cause the impalas to kind of, not quite rut, but they go into a sort of mini rut, and they sometimes chase each other around a bit because the air is so infused with the hormones of the lambing season.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, you can even see right there, he opened his mouth in a bit of that raw kind of fashion, but we couldn't hear.
Mm. I mean, I was recently in the lowveld of South Africa to Mala, believe it or not. Will highly
Oh.
recommend it if you have been. Astonishing piece of land. Leopards all over the place, literally dripping out of the trees. And the impalas were doing exactly this, and they were chasing each other around. And as we left, and on the second last day, so it was exactly today last week, we saw the first lamb. And I know that they have seen other lambs in the Sabi Sands. And so, as the lambing season was starting, the impala was starting to behave in a manner that indicated displeasure with each other, as they might during the rut.
Yeah. And I think that makes total sense because the hormones associated with um, pregnancy, birth, as well as being an estrus are quite similar. They're all just
Mm.
modified versions. And so, if you're already in a bit of a frenzy, there's already so much happening within your herd. Uh, it's easy to kind of just get pulled by
Mm.
the smell of the hormone. I think that's what's happening.
Do you think? Do you think perhaps, and this is a real long shot, and I'm not sure that it's testable at all, but do you think that the there is some kind of evolutionary bent towards such fighting for the rams because it may draw some predator attention away from the lambs? We know that the rams are targeted during the rut because they're not concentrating on predators. And is it possible that evolution has pushed them towards this behavior in order to protect the lambs? Because obviously they're very vulnerable, and maybe it takes attention away from them.
I think that it
In
is
fact,
certainly possible,
yes.
but like with so many things in evolution, um, that might not be the purpose of that happening. It can be a byproduct of them fighting.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Mm.
and also, I
And
mean, impalas already have a strategy for protecting enough genetic material in the lambs by flooding um, the
yeah,
area with so many, like saturating the area. So I think it would be more of a minimal byproduct, but certainly not impossible.
yeah. I suppose also we must not forget that evolution acts on the individual. It doesn't act on the species or on the population. And it's difficult, therefore, to see how that particular behavior would benefit an individual. In fact, it would do precisely the opposite. Please ignore everything I've said up until about sort of a minute ago. Thank you.
But it's not impossible because it may be beneficial to that ram in a different way than what we're thinking about.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe
Okay, well,
maybe it helps
discussion.
in his muscle. Definitely. But I love those kinds of discussions. I love them.
Yes, me too.
Sarah from Kazakhstan, thank you for joining us again. You say, isn't the water going to become? She's talking about the hippos. Isn't the water going to become almost undrinkable soon with all that poo? What do you say?
Animals will drink just about any kind of water. I have seen water being rejected for drinking purposes when it goes sort of eutrophic and the organisms that are living in it start to die, and I think it probably becomes quite toxic to some creatures, but it depends on the animal. Elephants would probably reject it because there's lots of other clean water around. I think predators that have highly acidic digestion probably wouldn't mind. So maybe to some species it will become undrinkable. It's also important to remember that that pan is pumped, and so there is a constant replenishment of water in it. So yeah, it'll get dirty, but I'm not sure that it'll ever get to the point that it'll be undrinkable. But it might. That's a completely nebulous
And
answer that doesn't really answer your question. I mean, it's basically a politician's answer.
uh, Russell and I were having this discussion last week where we said that basically, if we're going to try to be as correct as possible, it would have to be a politician's answer because there is a
Yeah.
possibility that it will be this way, but it's more likely that it will be that way.
Hmm.
So
I think
hippos do
that's
something very.
yeah. Carry on.
Sorry,
As you were.
Okay.
No.
Hippos do something very interesting for water because they introduce terrestrial vegetation into the water by pooping in the water. And so that adds quite a lot of nutrients to the water. And it would be an unnatural an extreme situation if they had to be so much poop in the water that it would cause the water to lose oxygen and then also kill off things in it. It would have to be, an extreme situation, drought, etc., because there's already processes that are happening in the water that are breaking down that vegetation because that's nutrients coming from the terrestrial environment. So I think that it is unlikely that you would get to the stage where it becomes so undrinkable that animals would reject it totally. My
Good.
2 cents.
Excellent question.
And then we have Stella Nicholson who says, hello from Southern Ontario, Canada. We had a little snow and it's cold. You love the videos and our commentary. Thank you so much. But now we shall move on to our next video, or our next clip of some Nyalas. James does this dance very well.
Yes, I do. No, I don't. Oh, wonderful.
I'll let you take this one, James.
This is a really, yes, I think this is an incredibly clever way that Nyalas have figured out how to size each other up without setting to each other. And I'm not exactly sure of the rules of engagement here. Those are not the biggest Nyala, but I suppose they're similarly sized. And this dance, we think, is a way of sizing each other up so that they can decide who's most dominant, and then whoever is most dominant will be the dominant one in the area and probably monopolize any mating opportunity. and it is the most bizarre thing to watch. But it is not the final word necessarily. And if neither of these two decide that the other's dance is more impressive than his compatriots, we seem to be in fast motion now. That is in fast motion now. Obviously, the editor decided this was very boring typing and he needed to speed things up a bit. What I was saying is, what happens is that they will actually have a set to. And I've seen Nyala's fight, and it's more terrifying and more impressive, and to my mind, much more dangerous than any other antelope fight I've witnessed. So they absolutely do fight with each other properly. And I think that the danger levels are such that this is a much better way of just trying to figure things out before things get too violent.
I have
What a way to
never
finish.
seen them. Yes. I've never seen them actually clash. I've only seen them do their dance. And like you said, it's such a great strategy, especially if, like you said, it's very violent when they actually do clash. Because ultimately, if you can
I've
sort
only
your
seen it
differences
once.
out, you've only seen it once.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, and it went on for 20 minutes, and it was insane. It really was. It was like watching two extremely skilled double-handed swordsmen having at each other. It was vicious, and the speed with which they managed to block and parry, and I mean, I don't know all the terms that one would use for fencing or sword fighting. It was really impressive to watch.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, that, coming back to the way behaviors come around and evolution as such, if you know that that's what it comes down to, such a violent interaction, then I can see how this dance would come about, because it makes more sense to try and avoid it as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have everyone saying hello, but not really asking some questions. So let me get through these last hellos, and then we have a final clip for our last three minutes. So Pamela Jean Painter says, "Thank you, Trishala and James. Our pleasure." Maria Isabel Guevara Suplevda. Suplevda. I'm sorry. You say, "Wonderful world in nature." We're so glad that you joined us. You're also a new name for me. So I hope that you enjoyed. Oh, Mary Momo. Mary Momo thinks, she says, "Trishala, new family member? Details, please. We want to know everything about your personal life." Mary Momo, there is no new family member. No new family member. It was just something that was said, and then I said I'd probably avoid such a thing for a while after listening to James' stories about his little one. Lamarco Alex says, "Wow, so beautiful," talking about the Nyala. And then Mary J says, "I saw one doing this dance outside my room window at Mala Mala. I think it was
nice.
at his reflection." How interesting.
Yes.
Like a spider fish. Anyway, let's head on to our what's called bonus clip. A very interesting interaction with Monty, our python. There we go.
Oh boy. Monty the Python is back.
Yes.
And this squirrel, I'm assuming that the squirrel is alarming at Monty the Python.
I would think so, with the tail movement.
It looks like it is. So not quite as idiotic as the bird brains that kept landing basically in his mouth. For those of you who missed this python has sat on this or a very similar log and devoured any number of birds that failed to notice that he was in fact a python and not a branch. Quite astonishing to watch. I mean, I think we watched 5 or 6 birds, maybe more, dying at the teeth of Monty the Python. But the squirrel has figured out his strategy and is definitely looking at him and staring, and he's going.
Oh goodness! An amethyst sunbird has just flown my window.
Oh goodness! Anyway, Monty the python didn't eat the squirrel, I don't think, although the squirrel is asking for trouble sitting there. Come
But I
on,
think
Monty.
the squirrel is really squirrel. That's very close.
It really is very close, and Monty's not moving. And in fact, so camouflaged is the snake that the camera is struggling to focus on it. The camera is struggling to find what the subject of the shot is.
Mm. But I wonder if a similar thing is not happening to the squirrel, where it's realizing that it's familiar with the shape, but something is
Yeah.
not clicking, and so that's why it's venturing
Yeah.
further and further towards it.
Maybe. My understanding is that that squirrel survived.
I don't think we have enough information to confirm or deny
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But I hope so. The amethyst sunbird is fine. It was very, very pretty, but it flew up and it was fine. Just in case you were all wondering.
I'm sure that everyone was.
It was cute. Anyway, Kathy Barton. Oh, thank you for joining us, Kathy Barton. Haven't said anything the whole show. You said was late to the party here and been watching. Hello, Trishala and James. Hello, Kathy Barton. Thank you for joining us in our last seconds. Well, it's that time. Aiden has said that there was no end to the clip. We don't know what happened to the squirrel, so we can only
we don't know.
Yes. But thank you, everybody, for joining us for Wild Moments, powered by explore.org. Thank you, James, for joining us again and gracing us with your presence and your commentary.
I'll do my best.
And we'll see you all again next week, hopefully, or at least I will.
Okay.
Somebody will see you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.